Welcome, listeners. Welcome, listeners. Welcome to hold on, space. Welcome, listeners. Welcome to Welcome, listeners, to Kyle and Cody's Cult Cinema Cast. I'm Kyle.
Sorry, I was taking a drink while you were continually fucking that up. And I know this is gonna get post-edited out because
No, it's funny.
you wouldn't take this bit. Anyways, yes, I'm Cody.
No, they like it when we screw up the intro by accident.
Who is this collective they that you keep on giving recognition to?
I don't know. The voices. I don't know. We have listeners. There's some people who listen to this
somewhere.
I know for a fact that we have like a couple dozen listeners, at least a few dozen. No, it's more. It's like 70 regulars.
Is it 70?
Yeah, some like 70 regulars. So we're doing the 2000 Dungeons and Dragons movie from the year 2000. Cody brought it up. Why doesn't he explain himself? Well, I take another drink.
So the first movie I did for this sub theme was The Cat in the Hat. And Kyle had brought up the fact that the Cat in the Hat's like a very specific literary tool. And then I can't remember what we were talking about. Maybe it was Kyle's talking about his D&D group, but I remembered that there was a 2000, I guess is...
Yeah, it's straight 2000.
2000 early Dungeons and Dragons movies, and I thought, hey, that's a good thing to capitalize on because like I've played D&D for, I don't know, at least 4 or 5 years now. I'm probably a little... No, that's about it. And I've known about the game for longer, and so I wanted to pick it up, and I feel like this movie eventually just didn't do the game justice.
No.
And so I ended up picking it as kind of a fuck you to Kyle because he brought up the fact that it's not necessarily it's not a book that you read, and the whole point of this sub theme has been, book adaptations that are shouldn't have been made, and so I'm pulling a Kyle here when I've completely misphrased the sub theme for...
Yeah. No, I think we can make this a part of that. I don't know. I didn't know you were making it a part of the theme, but I think we can swing that.
I've kind of been pulling like the sub theme out of my ass for the last 2 episodes where I've had copious amounts of movies that I've brought up on the podcast of book adaptations that I've absolutely hated. But like the last 2, I made the joke that next I'll find a cookbook to do because it's just basically an instruction manual. Oh, we should do Battleship.
No, we're not doing that.
That's not a book adaptation. That's a board game adaptation,
which has nothing to do with anything. I just have no desire to give that thing even 2 seconds of my time.
But I'm kind of excited because I'm actually on a new mic right now, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, that's kind of nice.
It's got one of those pop filters and everything. I went up to a Shure MV7.
Yeah.
It is very pretty.
So this was a movie that a joint American-Czech Republic made film that was made for $45 million, made $33.8 million. So it would source 10 million to get its thing. Still got 2 sequels, albeit like years later. They get like a straight to like a TV movie in 2005 and then a straight to DVD movie in 2012. Yeah, this is a piece starring Justin Whalen, Marlon Wayans? I don't know how to pronounce that. Wayans? Wayans. Jeremy Irons plays the villain. He does like scenery chewing, but not like the fun kind, just like the lame, boring kind. that like is trying to be like whimsical and make it seem silly, which I don't really care for. That's just not my way of doing things.
I feel like Jeremy Irons has kind of been just kind of on the back foot for a really long time up until I think he came back and he did Alfred in one of the Batmans. I
Oh
really
yeah,
liked him in that.
he's the
Um,
new one. Yeah, I don't mind him in that. Yeah.
but he did Brom in like 2003 in the movie adaptation of Aragon.
Oh yeah. I don't remember anything about that
And
movie.
I
It's been
like
years.
Aragon. Well, it was honestly shortlisted for this sub theme because I read every single one of the Aragon books, and that kind of just shit the bed for me. Like, did not turn out good. But I mean, when it kind of like what this had going forward today. It had a brand name recognition at that point. The only thing that I have to say about Aragon going forward is its target audience was a lot younger.
As I recall, right? Yeah, it was.
Mhm.
Just seems like worse Dragonheart. Although that movie has Sean Connery, and you can't
I
beat a movie with Sean Connery. It has Sean Connery in it.
That's not really a selling point for me.
Nonsense. It's of course it's selling point. It's Sean Connery, man. Have we done anything with Sean? Yeah, we have. Right? Yeah, he was in. We saw him wasted in the Avengers. So yeah, he has been on the show before.
Yeah, but like that's not a movie starring Sean Connery.
Yeah, we could watch. We should watch a good movie starring Sean Connery at some point.
Okay. If we're gonna do any movie with Sean Connery in it, I want to do Highlander, but that's
Highlander's
not
all right.
starring Sean Connery.
He's
Like
significant in it, but yeah. Anyway,
he's not the main character of it. Arguably though, if we do a movie with Sean Connery and we need it to tie into the sub theme, I think the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen should be a definite shoe in for.
I could maybe. I've read the League of. I read some League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I'll look into it. I just haven't. I haven't picked my second one. I haven't. I haven't decided on what I'm doing for the next one. I've thought about doing a comic book thing, but I just can't decide which one to do. Like something I like
So yeah,
truly,
as I was saying,
yeah, truly wish hadn't been made would be the thing, and I just haven't picked any out.
yeah. So as I was saying earlier, Aragon had a budget of $100 million, and it doubled that, $256 million back in the box office. So what I'm saying is, if you can gear a movie to kids, honestly, do it because it's gonna sell way better than something geared towards adults. It's just a given.
This I feel is somewhere in between. Like this has like I think this is rated 14A for Canada.
I honestly think though that why we know this movie and think of it so differently is because this would have been 2000, so about 7 years after we were born. And I don't even think I saw it when I was 7. I think I saw it when I was closer to 9 or 10. So
I'd never seen it until today.
what?
Yeah, no, I'd never seen this movie. I haven't seen enough movies about fantasy movies. I had limited like abilities to buy movies back in the day. Also, I was just renting the same Spider-Man tape over and over again. So,
Which Spider-Man?
like the one, it was a tape containing like the last like several episodes of like the Spider-Man animated series from the 90s. So like that awesome bit where they do like the clone, where they do like the Secret Wars, and then they fight Spider Carnage, and it's really cool. So that's what I watched a lot of.
I just remember that I had the Tobey Maguire original Spider-Man on DVD.
No, I have it on
And
tape.
so within the DVD package of that movie, you could go into the special features and listen to Chad Kroger sing Heroes.
I would have been into that back in the day. That's 2007, 2008. I would have been.
Nickelback was
I was into it back then.
arguably way better when you look at it with like a lens of nostalgia.
People are gonna give a shit for just saying, like, implying that Nickelback could ever be okay. Like, that's I've seen, like, over the last, like, 10 days, I've, like, seen, like, a wave of, like, Nickelback hate on Twitter, and like YouTube videos, but I've not. It's just one of those things where, like, I don't know. I don't think they're great all the time. I stopped buying their albums in like 2010, but I don't know.
But with that being said, you gave them money.
Yeah, I bought like 4 of the albums.
What?
Yeah, no, I have like the first 4.
Oh, 4 of the albums.
Yeah.
4 of the albums.
Yes.
I thought you said 40 albums.
No, I don't think have they made even 10?
No, but you could buy multiple copies of one album and say you bought 40 albums.
No, I've got the first
It's like-
4. I've grown colder on them over the years. Don't get me wrong. I just don't always hate them, and like I maybe only keep like 4 songs around.
It's one of those things where like where your public opinion of something just kind of downgrades your whole entire perspective of, because like I arguably do not hate Nickelback, but everybody hates Nickelback, so I'm like, you know what, they're not that great.
Yeah, no, it's people. I think people act like they had like more like again. This is us like now when like we're in chill like at least for me, I didn't listen to as much music back then, and like it didn't like I didn't hear as much as like the ubiquity of it. And I think a part of it was like they took this like metal band and tried to put it on like pop radio for 15 years, and I think that was a big part of the problem.
That is the greatest flex I've ever seen. Sorry. Jeremy Irons only appeared in this movie because he needed to renovate his castle.
That's a perfect. This, of course, you paid for your castle by making this movie. It's like, yeah, that's like the perfect reason to do it. Like, yeah, this is. I want to I want to like upgrade my castle, but I want to like do it in a way that's themed toward the castle. This is perfect. That's a perfect decision. That's like this just feels right. I think the castle would appreciate this.
I think I actually watched the sequel to this too.
So there was a Dave Arneson cameo that they apparently cut, which sucks. Dave Arneson is one of the inventors of D&D, the less famous one, who's arguably done a bit more.
Yeah, like what's his name? Gary Gygax or whatever.
Yeah, Gary Gygax. Yeah.
Wow, I'm surprised I got that right.
No, yeah, it sounds like a weirdly it sounds like a name you'd get wrong, because it's like, oh, Gygax, that's just a weird name. Where is that even? Where else? You would never say it except in reference to like Gary or like one of his kids.
I'm gonna do this because apparently an official Dungeons and Dragons adventure based on the movie.
Yeah, I read that somewhere. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna do a D&D game, and I'm going to make this the whole plot, and I'm gonna see if Kyle actually notices. He's never gonna know when I'm gonna do this. It could be 5 years from now. It could be 2 years from now. It could be 3 years from now.
I mean, do
one
it.
day though.
Do it. I'll play D&D I can do it, whatever.
And it received a novelization. Also, so did apparently if you ever want to laugh your ass off for whatever reason, Google search the novelization of Austin Powers.
Oh, I've seen that I've seen that around. That's awesome. Like, it's exactly it's. I guess you'd really not have, like, when someone says that, you don't have any idea what it's going to look like. But when you see it, it's like, of course, this is what it looks like. It sounds like something that Austin Powers literally wrote, and it's in the first person too, which is great. or like it's in third person, I think. Maybe I can't remember for sure, but it's exactly what you'd think it is, and you don't realize like, okay, but when you see it, you're like, of course. Why else would you write it anyways differently? It seems silly doing it anywhere else, anyway, other way. I think I was gonna say that Gary's kids are still in the RPG scene. One of them's Dick, but at least one of them's a Dick. But I think Luke and another one who is the Dick. I don't think it's Luke that was the Dick. I don't know. I can't remember. This was a while ago, but yeah, Dungeons and Dragons was a game created in the late 70s, early 80s, or in the was a game created in the 70s, built off old wargaming, and steadily created into something that resembles the modern Dungeons and Dragons, made by the company TSR. What does TSR stand for? Do you remember?
You're gonna have to repeat that. Sorry.
TSR. What does TSR stand for? The company.
TSR Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, of
The Sims resource.
Tactical Studies Rules is what TSR stands for.
What the fuck am I looking at then?
I don't know, but yeah, it's
TSR Inc.
Yeah, but yeah, Dungeons and Dragons, for those of you who don't know, is a role-playing game played on a tabletop with pen and paper. Sometimes with minis, sometimes with little miniatures, sometimes not. Where you go around go around with a group of players and have a imaginary fantasy adventure using dice to decide the outcomes. All of it is refereed by a other player who is called the Dungeon Master, who, according to
apparently
this,
it's getting really big in prisons.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's the perfect place because where your guys aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. You could have like 6 hours of the best way to force somebody to play D&D is if they can't leave.
And like you can just if you're looking for a new player, yeah, no, if you're wondering about a new player, it's like, hey, how long you in for? And it's like 3 more years, and it's like, good, you're perfect. You want to play D&D? It's probably like a perfect opportunity. A good way to get into a minimum security prison. Although I suppose those are only for like, I don't think you could be in a minimum security prison too long. I don't know.
Yeah, my mom works technically in a minimum security prison, and I couldn't even answer that question.
But yeah. So they've made these movies, they made a TV show. See, you may have like, as I described that to you, you may have had the question of, wait, how do you adapt a movie from a role-playing game? Does it have established lore? And I'm like, yeah, it does. Dungeons and Dragons has established lore, but this movie doesn't use it. Like, the main
No, not at all.
No, Dungeons and Dragons usually has like a few like settings which they'll publish that players can play their games in, but you're not like obligated to use them. You can just make your own world. Like the principal ones being like the Forgotten Realms or Greyhawk or what was the original one? Maybe I'm just thinking of Greyhawk. There's like Dragonlance, which did also get an animated movie at one point. There's like Dark Sun, there's Mystara or whatever, there's Spelljammer, but yeah, just various settings. This is actually a unique thing that doesn't have any relation to the established setting, and the monsters aren't typically used the same. We see a beholder, but it is not used. It's like an illusion, which is captured fairly frequently by the guards, which is weird. Like that, those must be some badass guards. Beholders are pretty tough.
Oh, so TSR was actually bought by Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah. TSR has since been purchased by Wizards of the Coast, who is the current publishers of Dungeons and Dragons
and also Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, among other things.
Which actually had a Dungeons and Dragons crossover card game recently. Or set in Magic, I guess, is probably the more. Sorry, just one of the like the things that they tried to do, in my opinion, that just kind of ruined the like indulgence for me of watching something that I've played on film was they're like, and look, it's a beholder, and they point to the screen, and there's like this animated beholder on the screen in like bad 2000s CGI. So like, but like beholders are like supposed to be like extremely powerful monsters within the Dungeons and Dragons universe, and they're just like wandering around on a lawn, like acting as a sentry.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. A beholder, for those of you who don't know, is like a big eyeball monster with like tentacles that use like laser beams. It's like one of the like it's a monster that D&D actually owns. D&D usually has um like obviously they use dragons and orcs and trolls, which they've stolen from like mythology and other stories. But Beholder is one of the things that's their actual property. Um, yeah, I'm looking at the 5th edition Beholder. It says it's challenge rating 13, which is like an end game boss for a lot of campaigns. And yeah, they don't do anything with it. Dragons in D&D are famously intelligence creatures, whereas they're more just monsters that don't have like they don't talk or anything.
yeah.
Yeah, they don't make use of it. There's one guy in this who's just like a random species I've never seen before. He's just a guy with 3 eyes, which is weird. Like it's like, what is he even? Do you know what he is? The purple guy with 3 eyes?
No, but like the makeup on this thing was like very reminiscent of like I wouldn't even say like the 2000s level bad. Like this was like
Yeah,
80s or 90s level bad. Like I don't
yeah.
really fully understand why they were going with like there was no necessary need to make this character like he wasn't a big character or anything. He was like a bit piece that could have been done by any form of extra. Like he got 2 lines in it maybe.
hmm Yeah, this is very much CGI, which means they can't really fight any of the monsters, which sucks. This is the thing about why people are like upset about like I think it's almost not so much that like some people like there's dissonance for some people. Some people just can't get themselves into the headspace of like CGI things or things that are actually on screen. I think it's also that like we got so good at practical effects, which
Mhm.
like to make a dragon is maybe a bit too difficult, but I think we could do something to make I think you could probably pull off like a puppet beholder. That's probably something that's not too hard.
Yeah. Yeah, or you could do really campy stuff with it and like
Yeah.
go like a completely opposite direction and like almost Space Jam this movie.
Oh yeah, and like D&D is not a stranger to that. Like I think we all kind of know how people end up playing D&D, which like it's like a lot of it's like characters that are like practical to an absurd extent and like they're not like it's very when you play like a D&D game and you get like your storytelling, the stories are very down to earth. It's not like carefully constructed and there's a charm to that which is hard to capture when you're doing a scripted thing, yeah.
Yeah, and like a lot of things are sandboxed.
Yeah. And also the characters aren't going to like do things for contrived reasons as much. Like this is a generalization, but like in my mind, like a D&D player isn't going to like if a D&D player thinks someone is lying to them, they're not going to like do some dumb thing about going along with it. They're going to do like something a very practical and like smart solution. It's weird, but it's Yeah,
Unless you're playing a bard and then you just try and seduce the evil villain
yeah.
and
Even
bang your
that,
way out of the situation.
that's a way of doing it. It's like
That's
there's not players, like D&D characters don't always have that same kind of like heroic pride that is foisted upon fictional characters. They'll like go for the low blows, they cheat, they steal and lie, they're gonna beat people up if they get mad at them. It's not making them like bog standard heroes isn't something easy. And I think this movie tries it at points, but
yeah,
no,
I'll
the
put
main hero just is a bland fantasy hero. It's
and I definitely think there's a lot being said about that. Like, but I think one way that you could do this nowadays is have a Netflix choose your own adventure series.
I'm not even. I think you need to
Is that
like.
not a thing?
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, you can do those, but I think it's weird because like if you're not in the D&D, if you're not in like the RPG tabletop RPG space, you don't really know about this. But like there's been a kind of like we're in kind of a golden age of like broadcasted D and like tabletop RPG campaigns which are like of a certain quality and you get a idea about how these characters act. Um like the characters
Oh
on like
yeah.
even like the big one like the big one is Critical Role, and like those characters don't act like characters in a scripted medium. They have semi-equal screen time. There's not like an obvious leader among them. They're kind of immoral in like a funny practical way of like it's not they're real act like real characters, which is something that's difficult to do in scripted medium. I don't know. And it's almost like do you even need a movie when like you have Critical Role or the Adventure Zone or whatever Dimension 20s is called, or like Acquisitions Incorporated or any of these good ones that are just lying around. Dice Funk is my favorite, so I
Yeah,
have to
like,
bring it up.
and it doesn't even have to specifically be D&D. Currently, I was listening to Campaign, which was the Star Wars campaign, which was really good. I was listening to the original with Cat Cool. Um, and right now I'm listening to a different system and a different podcast called Neo Scum, both done by the One Shot Network. So, and that's a Shadowrun playthrough.
I'm listening. I've just started listening to a Call of Cthulhu game, which is like a very big tabletop RPG, run by the Rolling in Rainbows crew, which are pretty new to the scene. They haven't gone to. I've only watched one episode, but it's interesting to watch, and yeah, yeah. We're both big D&D players, so it's very fun for us. So
And I think really what happened was Critical Role definitely did they showed everybody what a D&D podcast could look like. But the problem with them is the way they did it was so indicative of the early internet days, right? Like I've tried to get into Critical Role more than once because I've seen shorts on them. They look awesome. You know, they did it every time I've watched a video or a highlight, it's always been funny. But the problem is I went to go sit down and watch episode 1 of the first ever Critical Role season, and it's 3 fucking hours long.
oh yeah, no, I only consume it through like the animatics. The people make these little fan made animations of like maybe 2 minutes of Critical Role at a time, and after a while you just get a glimpse of what the story's like. There's going to be like a couple weeks where you're just going to be like, wait, Ford's voice changed, why did that happen? But you'll figure it out eventually. But that's just how I consume it because it's a
Mhm.
fucking 4 hour long show. Like this is the weird thing about the internet age is like this is the least consumable form of media you have ever seen in your goddamn life, It's a 4-hour long television show, basically, and people do it. Like, people watch that every week. It's frankly
People
ridiculous.
playing a board game, like,
Yeah.
who was the other people that recently came out? They were the BuzzFeed people.
They have one? Okay.
They did really good. You probably seen them. I could have owned this movie for $15.
Yeah, me too, but I don't want it, frankly. Let's get into the movie, because I'm going to
You're
explain
not
why
gonna
I
add
don't.
it.
No. I do not. We've gotten distracted. We need to talk about how fucking stupid and bullshit this movie is. This movie fucking sucks. We're getting into this now.
I've kind of kind of changed my stance on it with your reaction there, where I'm just gonna make sure that everybody knows that I somewhat enjoyed this movie.
Ooh, I fucking hated it. Like, I hated it. Like,
It had
I loudly swore
I
at
can't
it.
even say that. It really didn't have any, like, Jeremy Irons might be the only redeeming quality in this movie, and that's, like, even, like, at the best, that's just because I like Jeremy Irons for playing Braum. And I guess he also played Scar, and I completely forget he played Scar in, The Lion King.
Like in the original Lion King?
Yeah.
Oh.
He voiced Scar.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that sounds right, actually. Now that you're saying it out loud and we're talking about it. Yeah, so this movie takes place in the Empire of Izmir. It is a land ruled by a mage upper class, which subjugates the non-magic using class, which in D&D terms is actually quite sinister, because D&D wizards are like, you essentially gain magic by taking on a like doing book learning. As a lot of them, they don't like have all like inherent magical powers. You get it from like studying. So that has like a very controllable way of dispersing the ability to use magic. So this is actually like a valid way of like building a Dungeons and Dragons world, the way magic is done in Dungeons and Dragons. There are exceptions. You can get magic other ways, but yeah, so that's what we're dealing with, a wizard oligarchy which runs the Izmir Empire and subjugates the non-magic users. So that's like an interesting setup, at least. That's a start.
Not okay, so it's an interesting startup in theory.
Oh yeah, yeah.
In practice, they don't ever really get into this heavy shit. Like, they kind of gloss over it. Like, I think
They get a few moments, but yeah, no, I agree for the most part. Like, the people in it aren't like, they say treated as slaves, but I guess if feudalism is a form of slavery, if you really want to get down to it. But they're normal. The non-magic users are normal magical peasantry and townsfolk. They don't have anything you wouldn't normally expect. We open the scene based on showing Jeremy Irons, the real star of the movie, I guess, walking with his hands out, trying to look sinister as he is doing some experimentation, trying to make a magic item, which he tries to use to control what in D&D is called a gold dragon. Dragons in D&D are colored. They are chromatic.
was this a gold dragon?
Yep. Yeah, because this movie shows gold dragons and red dragons.
But the staff was green though.
Yeah, this I think that's like the staff is green, but the dragon was gold.
I just assumed it was trying to just try and enslave. So what I'd like to say about this movie, the one thing that it did good is it really set up its premises within the first 5 minutes. It showed both Dungeons and Dragons in the same scene
Yeah, they have all that.
because they were in a dungeon and they had dragons.
So yeah, he's trying to create a magic item that'll control this gold dragon. It works for a minute before the dragon is able to shake off the effect. So I guess it lasts like a couple rounds of combat, but that's about it. So it's a good spell. Like they have plenty of opportunity to like kill the dragon after this. They'd like drop a grate on it and kill it, which is handy, but it's just not what he wanted. The dragons in this are like apparently kind of bipedal, which is interesting. You don't see them like that often. It's kind of standing like it's like a T-Rex with wings, like an actual like as a T-Rex walks but with wings. So that's
I've seen dragons like that before.
I haven't really. It's not one of the traditional
Isn't that
ones.
most dragons?
No, most walk on four limbs like a lion, basically.
Game of Thrones did
Well,
bipedal
no.
dragons.
Okay.
So.
Okay. I should rephrase. Not bipedal is in like two limbs, 2 legs and an arm, and two legs and 2 wings. I mean like bipedalism, like stands on 2 legs, has 2 arms, and also 2 wings. To be clear, like it stands like a T-Rex with wings, which is whereas
Okay, so
yeah,
it still has arms, is what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Rather than being hunched down on all fours.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
4-legged dragon that is bipedal, which I think is an interesting way to go about it, actually, because then the claw attacks work pretty good, don't they? Might try this at some point. That'll be fun. Anyway, yeah, so that's our setup for what he's trying to do. We meet our main character, who is a rogue, who is a rogue, and he has another rogue with him. The party composition in this seems to be 2 rogues, a fighter, a ranger, and a wizard, which is kind of interesting. It's not like it's breaking up the. It's not a standard party composition, which was not obviously something we've walked away from in more modern D&D. But back in the day, they'd maybe insist on you being a healer, having a healer more often. So they wouldn't necessarily like you having 2 rogues back then. So yeah.
Sorry, I was just remembering a more recent post that I read on the internet about like the damage breakdown of a lot of the classes currently, where rogues are just so stupidly overpowered.
Rogues are cool. They can do a lot of damage.
Like is like it, but they were talking about like how like the magical system is passed down, and then it's like rogue. I take my pointy stick and stab it 2 times, and it deals 44 damage apiece.
Oh yeah,
or 22 damage apiece. Like they're kind of just broken. So if you ever want to run 2 rogues in a D&D party, by all means, fucking do it, because it's very advantageous.
In 5e, I don't know that rogues. I don't know what rogues are like in 3.5, which would have been the edition that was around when this was happening. I think maybe 3.
Yeah,
but I know rogues were like way weaker way back in the day, going back into advanced AD&D. So that this is a more of a bold choice in the day and age, I think. But yeah, we got our 2 rogues. Played by Justin Whalen and Marlon Wayans, Ridley and Snails. Okay, I'm gonna mention this. Marlon Wayans, Snails, is a African American man. So it's a black character. He gets no breaks in this movie. Like, if this guy was rolling dice, he doesn't roll above a 10 the entire movie. I'm certain.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, he gets maybe 1 good shot in, and that's it, and it doesn't even get him very far. The DM clearly hates this guy's player character. He just gets no chances. Whereas the white rogue gets to do whatever he wants and is fairly good at it, with some exceptions. The Ark's actually kind of okay with him, but I just do not like how they handle the black character gets like horror movied in this, where like he's the first one to die. He's the only one to die. He doesn't get any scenes showing that he's competent. He's portrayed as very cowardly.
Mhm.
I think some people would have some things to say about this character, the way he is written.
He's definitely shoehorned into the bumbling sidekick type character. Like, I think at one point I was gonna say something about, Marlon Wayans at this point in time in his career. I think he was just coming off of, 1999 Screen fame,
Hmm.
but he was one of those actors that was shoehorned into a lot of, what was it? Like, scary movie, like, parody films,
Okay.
and, like, his character just feels goofy.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard to take the character serious, and that might not be, Marlon Wayans' fault. I think one of the movies that I do remember him playing in was Little Man, but I could be wrong, 'cause I think there's
That's not the one where the guy pretends to be a baby.
yeah,
That is that. I got that right.
yeah,
Ooh, yeah. No, I vaguely remember
yeah,
that film.
'cause there's there's 2 of them, right? 'Cause, they're brothers.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
Marlon Wayne, and then there's, Shawn Wayne, right?
yeah. I can't remember who's
Um
in it. I know what movie you're talking about.
Well, they're both of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And Tracy Morgan.
Yeah. He just like he's a silly character, which there's room for that in D&D, but in like a D&D movie, but it's just feels like it's all hoisted on him, where they could have like spread some of that around, because like D&D players are famously kind of cowardly, sort of. There with some exceptions, but yeah.
But they definitely they they um definitely tried to spread out some of the goofiness between Marlon Wayne's character and the dwarf that we'll eventually meet. Like they were kind of the comedic.
Who's also just kind of like I mean, a white actor, but a throwaway minority, to be fair. Like he doesn't contribute much. He doesn't get a lot of lines.
We're talking about dwarves, right?
Yeah. Um like in the
Yeah.
like
Okay.
in fiction anyway, like within the fiction, like
Hmm.
yeah, he's very much kind of fills that role also. He's just like a disgusting little gross man, which fulfills all the stereotypes and doesn't have his own character. Like he feels like a ride along NPC more than a player in the game, which is another thing they're doing wrong about this. This movie shouldn't have like one main character. It should be an ensemble film, because that's what D&D is. You all like
Yeah, kind of
we
like Lords of the Rings.
yeah, we get like a D like people feel like some people feel bad in D&D when like they feel like they're hogging the spotlight. Like that's a thing, or like that's a concern that people have. So it should be more of a group effort where like each player is contributing to the party, where it's just like Ridley does most of the work. He goes through several dungeons on his own. Yeah, no, I don't think this movie handles minorities pretty well. I think they try to go for a bit of like a Gimli Legolas thing between him and the elf for a little bit, but it doesn't come across much. I think there's like maybe a scene of it. Jeremy Irons' experiment has caused like the river to catch on fire because dragon blood catches on fire on top of water. So they're going.
Apparently.
So the rogues are going to use that distraction to rob the magic school. So and then we after the, between after this scene we get a scene with the Empress, played by Thora Birch. She is getting a she is being talked to by the or no she's being talked about by the council of this empire, who is trying to get her to relinquish her magic staff, so that they can keep her from implementing some social reforms that would enhance the rights of the non-magic using class. Um, since she is, which sounds like a good thing, but since she is a monarch, and since like okay, the political situation of this film is like suspect because I think this queen could very easily be trying to like leverage this social reform in order to gain power against the council so that she can actually end up with more power. So I don't trust a word this fucking bitch says. Sorry.
Okay, but
Yeah.
what is what's higher than an empress in this?
Okay, no, she has the most power. This
Sure.
is clearly a constitutional monarchy where like the council is like rule which is probably some representative state of the nobles or like a higher the magical class. So they want to keep control over her because if they she gives the non-magic users more rights, that's going to cost the magic users money and power. But because those non-magic users would have gotten more freedom from her, she might try to leverage that power to give her more power to make her more of an absolute monarch, which isn't stated in the film, but this is the sort of shit these monarchs try all the time in real life, so I don't trust any of it.
Yeah, but didn't she even bring up the fact that her father made the monarchy so that, or made the council to keep her in control? I'm very confused here. Like honestly, this plot's very convoluted, and sometimes I just need somebody to dumb it dumb it down for me.
Yeah. No, essentially she's trying to leverage her they want her to relinquish her magic staff, which spoilers it allows her to control gold dragons. Hence Jeremy Irons' attempt earlier to make a staff that would also control gold dragons to limit the power of the emperor, which is a good thing. But they're leveraging it as a bad thing because she wants to give the non-magic users rights, even though in the long run she is going to end up being a liability to the cause of the non-magic users, aka the proletariat.
So basically, the uh Jeremy Irons is the bad guy, but somehow also the good guy.
Yeah, he's got a point.
Okay, but like
Absolute monarchs are bad.
honestly, I don't disagree with you. It's like the equivalent of like a president who has access to nuclear launch codes that could legitimately just start shit whenever they wanted, and that's a bad thing.
Yeah, no, I like monarchs are bad. All monarchs are bad.
Okay, but a monarchical democracy is still better than a monarchy, in my opinion.
She never says a damn word about democracy. She says she's going to give the non-magic users more
She's
rights.
standing in the chamber talking about fucking like talking to a council.
Yeah, I don't think the council's an
What part of
elected
that's not
council.
democracy, though?
I don't think that's an elected council, first of all. I think this is like the Roman Senate more than anything. I don't think it's an elected position, like an elected
I like
position.
it's kind of like to me like somebody trying to explain like the badness of what they're doing to Dr. Manhattan. It's
Yeah.
like Dr. Manhattan at any point in time could just explode that person and then start a nuclear holocaust, but he chooses not to. I don't know why I said holocaust. Nuclear holocaust. That is
I mean,
definitely
that's the
not a thing.
word for it. That's no, that's a thing. That's what
What?
they call it. Yeah, people call it nuclear holocaust. That's a thing that's a word that's been used.
I don't think that's the same situation though.
No, it's not. Like
A
I forget.
nuclear apocalypse would be a better statement
Oh
for
yeah,
it.
it's
I
also
don't know why I
used. I
said
don't.
holocaust.
People have used the term nuclear holocaust.
Huh.
I don't
That's
know what
weird.
holocaust means, like literally, like the etymology of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So yeah, that's the political complications here. Is what I'm getting at. The situation is political complicated. It might be better for her to win, frankly. However, just because her giving Like, the ultimate goal is for all of these guys to lose their jobs, not just the council. She's like, hey, give me more power, and then I'll let you people be more free, is what she's saying. And that I am incredibly suspicious of. But yeah, she's going to resist doing this. One of her advisors says that they should seek out the rod of Savir, which is a rod that does a very similar thing. It does the rod, it controls red dragons instead of gold. And so they want to get that so that they can have that and then allow the scepter to be relinquished, or their rod to control gold dragons to be relinquished and still have some power so they can't just get rid of her, which wouldn't be the worst thing. Although, there's no
I
good
don't
guys here.
fully understand how these rods work.
It's I don't know exactly. I mean, clearly the dragons in this are more animalistic. They're not intelligent beings like in regular D&D, but
Well, and with that being said, in theory, couldn't they just kill the girl? Like, why don't they just kill the girl?
that would be politically inconvenient. If they kill her before she acts, that just means they're usurping power, and that sucks away their legitimacy as a council.
Legitimacy to what? She's the last surviving heir.
True, but if they kill her, that makes their taking over illegitimate because they killed the last monarch, and that would cause more rebellions, especially since she's advocating supporting the free peoples, and without her, the non-magic users might just revolt.
So you have pointy sticks.
Yeah.
And other people have machine guns. And you're scared about what the people with the pointy sticks have to say.
Yeah, but I need the people with the pointy sticks to farm my food. And if I kill them, they can't farm my food.
Why do you need food when you have magic?
Well, you can only make so much food per day. It's like you need to also what am I gonna fill my own bath? It's like we need servants.
Yeah, but that's kind of your problem at that point in time.
Yeah, it is your problem because you need the people to do this stuff.
No, have you ever seen The Sorcerer's Apprentice?
Yes.
Okay. How do you need people to do that man work if you've already got brooms that could magically clean for you?
Well, this is D&D. They have spell slots. They can only use so many spells per day.
I don't think that's an actual
and I don't think all of these guys are level 15 wizards. I think some of them are level 2 wizards.
That's okay. Make the level 2 wizards do the grunt work then.
Yeah, but then honestly, that makes them not a superior class.
There's clearly already a hierarchy of wizards and a hierarchy of non-wizards. I don't understand why there can't just be a
yeah, but then you got to keep the low-level wizards. You got to keep the low-level wizards in check, which makes you less powerful. And if you give the low-level wizards an enemy in the non-magic users who are getting a little uppity, then they'll be more loyal to you. You see, it's just class manipulation.
Oh, this is stupid.
Yeah, no, it is. Welcome to political science, Cody. It's all very fucking stupid at the end of the day. I'm not explaining to you why all this works, because it doesn't. I'm just explaining to you what happens.
Okay.
Yeah. You think we got this far by being smart?
No, maybe. Yes.
We meet up with the female lead of the movie, Marina, who is the party wizard. She is helping the Empress's advisor locate the rod of Savrir. He tells her to go get Manticore wing, so feathers. Isn't that just feathers? There's just no way a Manticore wing
I thought manticores were scales.
No, Manticores.
Manticore wing.
Or are Manticores? Oh yeah, do Manticores have bat wings? Hold on, let's look up Manticore.
Yeah, I think they definitely have
Yeah,
Batwings?
Manticore. I'm looking it up on D&D Beyond right now.
I think there's feathered manticores out there.
I
I've
mean, they're
definitely seen
hairy
feathered
creatures.
manticores, but yeah, a lot of them are just
Oh yeah, no,
scale form.
Manticore has like bat wings. So yeah, it's probably just a chunk of like the wing flesh
Skin, wing
or
skin.
wing skin. Yeah, Manticores have bat wings, so yeah, that makes sense. Never mind. They're only challenge rating 3. Why did I think they were more scary?
Greek mythology, they were
Yeah, I think it's
better.
because like Manticore. I'm thinking like Yu-Gi-Oh Manticores, which are like fucking bosses. Like I think there's like a big Manticore in Yu-Gi-Oh that's like very scary. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, they noticed that the rogues are making a lot of noise trying to steal stuff from the magic school. So she goes to investigate. She casts hold person on them. This is the most useful she is in the entire movie. Her magic gets significantly less powerful after this, I think, because she uses up her slots. I don't think she gets a full rest. Also, she uses a component pouch, so that gets taken away from her a few times. This is why you memorize some spells with no material components to get you out of this
So
situation.
yeah, the thing is I've never actually played a wizard in Dungeons and Dragons.
No, I'm playing a sorcerer right now, and I've played a warlock.
Yeah, I've only ever played a sorcerer. I've never ever played a
Yeah,
wizard
yeah,
or a warlock for that matter. Honestly, if you're going for the social hierarchy of like magic users in D&D, just become a sugar baby.
yeah. Warlocks are okay. I am enjoying playing the mechanics of my sorcerer, even if I do go down every 3 combats because I have very little hit points. I actually have fairly good hit points for a sorcerer,
Mm,
but that's beside the point.
Are you
Um,
playing a halfling?
no, I'm playing a tiefling.
I like the fact that they got a shout out in this movie. Actually, though,
Oh yeah. They mentioned halflings once, but they're not featured in the movie.
they get mentioned that they were getting robbed, or the halfling was getting robbed by the two main characters, and the halfling beat the lower half of snails
Yeah, I didn't know the halfling had levels in
because
monk.
that's all they could reach was the lower half.
Ow,
Yeah.
ow! All the
So
attacks are below the belt because he can't reach higher than that. Ow, ow. Anyway, yeah. So they get caught.
I was gonna say,
Yeah. Go ahead.
I notoriously only actually play halfling within Dungeons
Yep.
and Dragons because Lucky is broken.
Yeah. Halflings get a feature that lets them reroll natural ones on their d20. Cody likes playing them.
Yes,
It's Cody's jam.
it breaks
Um,
certain classes too.
oh yeah. Anyway, so while Marina's dealing with this, Jeremy Irons' goon wanders in, and I think Damodar is his name. He goes in and deals with the advisor, killing him. So the rogues and the wizard have to flee, which they do through a dimension door, which she leaves open for the people to follow her through. Bad wizarding. I guess maybe you can't. Maybe you can't seal it behind you in these editions. I don't know. I don't know if you can seal it behind you in regular D&D. What does Dimension Door do? I'm just looking up things up on D&D Beyond because I think it's funny. Dimension
I was
Door.
actually just reading the Wikipedia page on manticores, so
Yeah, so they eventually run into their dwarf fighter companion, who is pretty good at fighting the bad guy, but doesn't manage to beat him. But which I mean, it makes sense because dwarven fighters are like very strong and handsome. Probably the best class race combination, like maybe like that, dragonborn warlocks, tiefling sorcerers. You know the drill. Those are the best ones. Nothing. Just gonna let me get away with that. Okay. Yeah. No. I don't know what it is, but yeah. Dimension Door in 5e anyway lets you doesn't make you carry anything with you. It's not like an actual portal. Um, so your enemies can't follow behind you.
Magic Ex Machina, it's
Yeah.
not exactly unheard of
Yeah.
in fantasy movies.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not gonna bat my eyes too much at this.
So yeah, he's also like the goon just talks and like whispers through the whole movie for some reason. I'm like, why are you whispering? He just talks like this and is very sinister when he whispers.
Dude, I should probably bring this up here because I had something to say about this guy. Why in the fuck does he have blue lipstick on?
He's allowed to wear what he wants. Are you
I
gonna?
know he's allowed to wear what he wants, but what I'm saying is, why does he need to?
Because for all we know, that's
It's
just how he
never
rolls.
explained for his character.
He's a
never explained
powerful
for his
fighter
character.
man
So,
who does what he likes.
and I mean, so arguably it was like a character design thing, but like it's like the purple alien creature all over again. It's like, oh, we need to make a fantasy villain. What can we do to make somebody sinister looking? And then they get the character, like the actor, and the actor already looks sinister, and they're like, we need to make him even more sinister. Let's give him like a scale armor and like
Powder blue
a
lipstick.
skull shaped sword. And they're like not quite. He needs to look a little bit more like David Bowie. Let's give him some powdered blue lipstick. Like, honestly, it's just a really weird choice in my opinion. That just doesn't.
Well, I mean, David Bowie's like apparently evil. He ran that entire evil empire in the Venture Brothers.
I was thinking the Labyrinth, where he
Also,
kidnapped
yes.
the baby, but
yeah, he's also evil in that. Those are probably in the same continuity. He also has magic powers in that movie. In that show, he can turn into an eagle.
What show?
Venture Brothers. Have you not seen a
Nah,
lot
I
of Venture
haven't seen
Brothers? Venture Brothers is all right. They cancel it though, so it sucks. I think they're getting a movie though, so maybe it's not too bad. It's a pretty good show. Pretty good show. If you're like, mind you, there are some like slurs used in it, but I think that's not permissible, but they're not like meant to be emulated as cool as like good character facets. So I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, they all run off after they fail to fight the bad guy. The wizard gets accused of being the one to kill the advisor, so she has the authorities after her, including this elven ranger who's going to track her down later in the movie. Because the goon has failed, he gets a parasite put in his brain, which is a weird non D&D thing. I thought like maybe they were gonna imply this guy was actually a mind flayer, like Jeremy Irons was actually a mind flayer, but that doesn't end up being a thing. Just a weird random power he has. Though magic spells can be like that sometimes. You can have like fireball and also like brain parasite magic. Let's talk about Marina the Wizard for a little bit. She portrays a number of unsympathetic character traits. She is a willing participant in this authoritarian caste-driven state. She is a racist. There's that. She says several racist comments about the dwarves. She's classist. All of these are very endearing to our hero. He does call her out on it. I just don't buy the he falls in love with her at the end. Because like she like does not have positive character traits. She only barely reforms at the end of the movie. That's not even really. She just admits she was wrong about some things. She doesn't give out a ton of apologies. She's kind of bad. Yeah, I don't get her as like a love interest. Like putting up with the girls' politics for a night, that's one thing, but like getting into it for like The long term, as it's implied by this movie, is another thing. I don't know. Some would call her a Karen, which is, I think, fair.
Yeah, it doesn't help that to like that she's kind of really one of another those sideline characters that you don't really like. Once again, she's a wizard, which like a lot of the CGI badassness would be coming from your wizard within this movie, and she does maybe like 5 spells throughout the whole entire thing.
And they're front loaded.
And so she's just kind of really, yeah, and it's just so to the point that it's like when the characters are in a sticky situation that they can't get out of without some form of plot armor, then in steps a wizard.
Yeah, she only has like occasional moments.
The only useful thing that I seen her outside of using her power is she picks up a torch and whacks 2 bad guys in the whole entire movie.
And they don't explain her lack of magic through any of the movies, so she just seems useless at points. Like there could have been like a throwaway line of just like, "Oh, I need my component pouch," or "I'm out of spells for the day. I need a rest." Like those are explanations she could have said, but yeah, I don't know. She's just not very good at her job. They end up at a bar, and I guess what's his name? I'm already forgetting. Ridley manages to like crit success a history check where he implies that his dad knew how to operate these ancient maps, which they were meddling with to try to find the location of the rod that controls red dragons, and he manages to get inside the map along with the wizard, and they give an explanation of what's going to happen. While they're stuck in the map, the dwarf and snails have to run off. He meets Snails meets the ranger, who is an elf, played by I don't know who, Kirsten Wilson. Let's just look her up, make sure that's who that is. I don't think it is. She seems. Oh, maybe. Yeah. Nope. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. That's who this is. Kirsten Wilson. She's a African American actress, and Snails hits on her for a little bit. Doesn't this never goes anywhere? She doesn't reciprocate at all. But yeah, they end up having to run off from the tavern and then Ridley and Marina emerge for the map and say that they need to get a magic ruby from the Thieves Guild in another city, and Ridley says that he's agreed to help Marina because he's in love with her, quote unquote, which I don't look like. I don't. Again, it's I could get like him putting up with her at a bar. I just don't buy this him falling head over heels in love with this oligarchical little racist woman. So they go. Snails argues with this, but he says he'll go with them because he doesn't want to not go with. He just wants to complain, which doesn't seem like a good thing to be. They don't portray this character very well. I'm pretty sure someone like I'm like 30% sure if I really look through 50% sure if I really looked in this, I'd find some African American film critic critiquing this as being sort of a bad racist betrayal, fulfilling old uh, stereotypes. But yeah, so they go to the Thieves Guild. The leader of the Thieves Guild reveals that the ruby they're looking for is the prize in this fancy maze he's made, and he goes into and Ridley ends up going into the maze alone, which is totally like a D&D thing of like going away from the party and doing things on your own. like we've already pointed out, D&D shouldn't have a main character. But yeah, he goes through the maze, gets the ruby.
And you don't split the party. That's like
Yeah. Also, yes.
notoriously one of the things that you don't do in D&D. Also, the guy who plays the main thief person is Riff Raff from the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh yeah, yep. Yep, that's right. That is right. I recognize that now that you have said it.
I was trying to figure out where I saw him before, so.
Yeah, he does this, gets the ruby. The guy says he wants the thing back. Oh yeah, Richard O'Brien. Yeah, that's who's. Yep. Yeah, Zillus is the character's name. Now that you've pointed out, now that I know who the actor is, I can find him on the cast list. Yeah, Zillus says he wants the ruby back because he did the thing, and he's very impressed, and he's letting his friends go. But as they're having this conversation, Damodar shows up and threatens to says he wants the map.
And I don't know who Hallforth was, but he's played by Tom Baker, who is the fourth Doctor Who.
I believe that was the character who heals Ridley later in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, so they are got people on both sides that don't want them to leave. So Ridley sets fire to the map like a little bit and says he'll put the fire out if they let him through. That doesn't end up working well, and they end up getting caught. Marina gets captured, so they have to go rescue her, which they do the attempt of. Ridley goes for the girl while Snails goes for the map. Snails gets the map and falls into a magic carpet, which ends up being quicksand, which he gets out of. Being chased by Damodar, he managed to get his one good hit in for the movie, and gets away from Damodar briefly. But then Ridley and Marina managed to get away from Marina's captivity place in just in time to find the Damodar holding a sword to the back Snails and yeah, essentially Snails throws the map to Ridley and gets killed by Damodin. So yeah, they kill the black guy first, which is always great. They accuse this of being like a horror movie trope, but it happens in several genres. But yeah, no, this is a bad thing that happens. They don't do right by this character or this actor. Frankly, he doesn't get a good shake. Like this is the guy basically just rolls all tens all nights and then doesn't get anywhere. Yeah, that happens. Ridley loses a sword fight to Damodar. But thankfully Marina is able to get them away, and they meet up with They've met up with the ranger again. They had been sent in by the ranger to go recover the map because the ranger's actually working for the Empress, who had been lied to about who killed her advisor, and yada yada yada. So they're working together, and I guess the ranger takes Marina and Ridley to an elf place to get healed by, I would assume, an elven druid, played by Tom Baker. So he gets healed, and they get some elven weaponry. He's like, I'll give them this. Ridley is very upset about Snails dying. He does not take it very well, and straight up, this is probably the best part of the movie. Ridley's standing in the elven village, and Marina comes up and she says he died for a good cause, and Ridley's just like, did he? Because fuck, it's just, as far as I know, this is just the Empress, the dictator of my the place I live in, versus a guy who's trying to be more of a dictator or another kind of dictator. So as far as I'm concerned, this is just a dumb fight between two oligarchs, which I've wasted time and hope on. But Marina tells him that the Empress is campaigning for not the rights of non-magic users, and that he has helped her see that non-magic users aren't as worthless as she was led to believe in her oligarchical privileged upbringing. This is kind of why I don't buy their romance. They're just she's it'd be kind of like a black person getting together with a racist in a movie, even if the racist did reform. I don't think they should get that level of reward for doing that. It's disguised by the fact that both these actors are white, but I think that subtext is certainly there, and I can see why it would be as uncomfortable, at least in universe. So it's just weird how they did that.
I'm still super confused by what you mean by racism.
Well, I would say like in this context, non-magic users would be like okay, it may not be technically racism, although she does act racist toward the dwarf, but
Mhm.
like you could like I don't there's not like a real life word for I guess it's sort of ableism if you view not having magic as
Classism.
yeah, classism. It's stuff that's sort of as bad. It's just we don't have like a real world word that amounts to like discrimination against people who are not allowed to use magic. Although you could just say classism in this case, because I do not believe at the beginning of the movie that Marina is the type that has a lot of sympathy toward the non-magic users.
Sure.
She's bigoted, I guess you could say, if you want to just
Mhm.
put a blanket term on it.
That makes way more sense.
Yeah, she's bigoted. I guess it's just the way, like, toward the lower classes. So yeah, he gets I suppose, like a +2 sword from the elves, and they go off to recover the rod that controls the red dragons, which is a kind of a neat scene. But of course, Ridley does it on his own because we need to have our main character do everything in this movie.
Okay, so explain this to me. So in this temple that they find, they go in with the stone, right? Uh, Ridley takes the stone and puts it in the eye socket of the dragon. Then what happens?
Then they, I don't even remember. It's unclear
Okay,
because
so I'm gonna see. Okay, so you didn't watch the same scene that I did, where you didn't realize it. So he takes the stone and he puts it into the dragon skull. Oh, the one stone didn't look like that there was actually a stone in there, but they clearly indicated that there was a stone in there. And then the one of the dragon eyes lights up.
hmm,
Why wouldn't they light up both dragon eyes?
I don't know.
Like, they're indicating that there's 2 dragon eyes, but only one of them lights up. So, can dragons only light up one of their eyes red?
I don't know. It's a weird thing.
It's just it's one of those things that, again, that, like, as a story writer, why are you just, like, leaving out, like, I don't know, just, like, minuscule details that just
Yeah.
don't make any sense?
But yeah, he recovered. Yeah, Ridley recovered. Ridley's the only one who can go into this place because presumably he doesn't have magic, or that he's not a magical
Sure.
creature. Because the dwarf and the elf aren't allowed in because
Arguably.
they're. It's discussed by Tom Baker's character that humans are the least magically adept, and Marina is a magic user, so she is not allowed in. So he has to go in to recover the rod.
But he used magic in the movie.
Yeah, that's also weird. Although in
I
D&D,
guess arguably you could argue.
in D&D you can use magic items if
So
you're not a magic user. So
yeah, that was what I was about to get to. I was about to say maybe the map was magical, which also I'd like to jump back to that scene with the map. Stupid.
oh yeah,
Very, very stupid. So stupid, and I didn't bring it up at the point that it's so fucking stupid. Like they go
yeah,
onto the map and then they cut to a bar scene happening.
yeah. They don't show them inside the map at all. Not really. They like show like a
It
thing.
makes no sense.
Yeah,
And then they come out and they're like, "Oh, these two aren't in love now, and that we need to bring her with us." And like,
yeah. No, I made the joke that he
this
just
is
nat 20
all
to history check. Like that's what I interpret as happening. And like I guess they're trying to imply that Ridley has some sort of magical heritage, which what? Why? That's not necessary.
yeah.
So yeah, he goes to get the rod from the guy who made it, and he has been punished for that. He is kind of like a skeleton, and as he takes the rod away, the skeleton dies, and then Ridley is haunted by some paintings of the dragons going to war because of the two rods. And that puts an idea in his head. So it's kind of interesting. Keeps him from going power hungry with
Okay,
it.
so you're locked into a tomb for all of eternity. What do? You're a skeleton at this point.
I assumed he was just pinned to the wall too, so he's had hell of a life. Like
Oh,
he's
that's
yeah.
even that's even worse. Like, 500 years go by, nobody comes down and like even attempts to find you. You're just kind of like stuck there for all eternity. I mean, I guess it's a punishment. Like, there's no way like there's no upside to it.
The implication I felt was like, and this is giving the movie way too much credit, is that this thing was locked away because if the dragons go to war, it'll kill the dragons will essentially all die. Because they're using living beings as weapons.
Also,
So
the rogue walks into a treasure room, and this is the only character growth I've seen out of the whole entire movie. And he goes to go like loot the place, and he goes, "Hey, maybe looting this ancient tomb isn't such a good fucking idea," and he stops himself. But at that point in time, you got the scepter. There's like really absolutely no downside to it.
yeah, no, and like the scepter's worth a lot of money too. But yeah, that's another thing. This is like a weirdly like D&D, but you're not looting after a certain like not looting is considered character growth. That's kind of the joy of it. Like there's a certain amount of D&D that's like
For the rogue, at least.
yeah, fulfilling the stereotype and like and you know how this movie's badly written because the rogue doesn't take anything it doesn't take from this place, but I suppose they steal a bunch before this and they're unabashed thieves, so we'll get into this a little bit more later, I think. So yeah, he gets the thing. So the the party got captured while he was in the cave. This is a terribly run campaign, to be honest. Like if this was like if a DM was running this, I'd be like, "Ah, oh, this is bullshit." Cuz like the one character's getting to do all the work and the other guys just get auto killed and like instantly defeated by everything.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get to kill a bunch of monsters in this either. This isn't really that's one of the things. This isn't fulfilling a lot of D&D fantasies, is it?
It once again, it's giving you snippets.
Yeah.
Snippets of the D&D universe, and then just completely ignoring everything to make villains of the like the humans, I guess. Like not necessarily the humans, but the people.
Yeah, it doesn't go all the way with like that's what I feel like the thing they need to do is just like make it feel like you're watching someone's D&D campaign, which is a bit of a pointless effort because you can nowadays you can literally just watch like people's high quality D&D campaigns.
Somebody's D&D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I can go on, like I listen to like good D&D podcasts every day in the car pretty well.
Or you can just go out and create your own D&D
Oh
game.
yeah, also yeah, I can listen. I listen to like people play their own pod like theirs, or I can play the game myself and have like a equally valid experience that's maybe not as good to listen to, but sometimes it is. So they fight, and they end up fighting after Ridley attempts to give the rod in exchange, which doesn't end up working. So they have to fight the guards. Ridley chases the goon the through his dimension door. Yeah, I'm not clear if the goon can use magic. Like he has some ability to use it, I guess, but
Which goon?
the main goon, lipstick guy.
Like Blue Lips?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He has a name. I have no clue what
I
the
think
fuck
it's
it is.
Damodar. I think he's played by Bruce Payne, I think. I'm pretty sure. I'm just going to look him up but make sure.
Yeah,
Because I
okay.
could have been saying this wrong the whole time. He looks like a Bruce
sounds
Payne.
correctly. You say that like I'm supposed to know who Bruce Payne is. Why does that sound like yeah, he's played Damodar.
Yeah.
Um
He's in both Dungeons and Dragons. He's in the second one too, apparently. Am I thinking of the wrong character? It's loading.
he's also in Highlander Endgame.
Yeah.
Which is really cool because
I haven't seen the sequels. I've only seen the original.
the original Highlander?
Yeah.
Okay, so in this Conor Mcleod, who was played by
Different actor? Christopher Lambert.
no, the original
Christopher Lambert.
No, Christopher Lambert played. Yeah, okay. So Christopher Lambert played Conor McLeod, and Duncan McLeod was played by Adrian Paul, and they come together. So it combines the original movies and it ties it into the TV series, and it's actually the end of the Highlander series.
So, yeah, so Ridley chases him through. He shows up like 5 minutes later, which is weird. These dimension doors stay open for way too long. So, yeah, we get to see what's happening with the Empress versus the Council. The Empress has used her rod, which she refused to relinquish, and is using the gold dragons to perform a political purge on the Council. And she's like, "Oh my god, what am I? What have I done?" And I'm like, "A political purge. You're literally just killing the people, putting checks and balances onto your power." Granted, it's an oligarchical system full of tyrants, so it's like a joke to put like them putting checks and balances on your power is a joke, but still. Like I said, this is why I'm suspicious of her character. She does very authoritarian stuff in this movie. A fucking purge. My god. This woman's basically like I see more of a Joseph Stalin type than anything else. Someone who pays lip service to giving people rights, but is actually like a huge authoritarian dick. Damodar returns with the staff to control the red dragons, which Jeremy Irons uses and calls in the red dragons, which show up very quickly. And then the gold and the red dragons fight. It's very violent. Dragons are dying, which we were informed is bad because it affects the ability of magic in this world. Yeah, that's a thing for a little bit before Ridley shows up and challenges Damodar to a duel, which is not very roguelike. You should just stab him in the back, which would be more D&D because he's rogue. That's what rogues do. And like, yeah, players just stab characters like the bad guy in the back in one round sometimes. It's very authentic, the experience.
Okay, but have you ever jumped up, done a backflip over top of your opponent, and then stabbed him in the back?
Have I? No. I tried to
Are
do
you
that.
going to?
I mean,
Not as a sorcerer. Please don't do that as a sorcerer.
no, I tried that as my when my dwarf fighter turned into a paladin and I got Misty Step. I tried to do that. Remember? And then I missed. You were there.
Oh, that was a really long time ago.
Yeah. This was in that campaign Victoria was running. Yeah, they get the duel, and it does thankfully end in a backstab, so that's nice. And then he fights the Jeremy Irons for a bit, and then the party shows up and they all fight. They get tossed around, but the rod gets dropped in the confusion, and Ridley gets it. He is tempted to use it, but ends up destroying it because he believes it's too powerful. Probably should kill the one the Empress has too, just to be safe. They don't though, because the Empress has right to rule. Totally not troubling politics to this movie at all. The Empress arrives and, through some hiccups, manages to solve the issue, and she uses her staff to take a big bite out of Jeremy Irons, which Ridley could have done, but then he would have done literally everything in the movie by himself. It's badly balanced if one player can solo an adventure.
Yeah, I really don't know if you talked on the CGI fight scene.
Oh, the CGI is pretty bad. It's pretty cheap.
This whole ending sequence is like honestly green screen and all CGI.
Yeah,
with the characters like riding around on occasional dragons, or the princess at least. Empress.
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 Yeah, she's the Empress. She's just not of age to rule on her own. That may be why her father installed the council, and they're kind of like a regent's council that's trying to like assert their power, which is possible. Yeah, that makes sense actually, because this starts in the beginning when she says she's going to disband the council, which, if they're a regency council, might actually be something in her power. Although the king can dissolve used to be allowed to dissolve parliament whenever he wanted. So, the King of England can't do that anymore, but that was a thing that could happen back in the day. But we've dealt with that at least in the parliamentary system. So yeah, Jeremy Irons has been killed. The staff that controls the red dragons is destroyed, which is maybe they should have destroyed the gold dragon one, because the red dragons are actually evil. Gold dragons in D&D are like lawful or good. I'll double check, but yeah, gold dragons are lawful good, so maybe they should have had something that control the red dragons, even though that's sort of unethical anyway. And we won't get into like species being inherently good or evil. That's its own can of worms, which we'll deal with another time. The end of the movie takes place at Snail's grave, which is just made of rocks, which is weird because they're in an actual cemetery. You could pay for him to get a proper headstone, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, it's like you see throughout the movie that both snails and
Ridley
were stealing shit. So you'd think they'd at least have some.
Even then,
change.
he's ending Ridley ends the movie and he's getting knighted, so he should just be able to like pay for a headstone now, or like borrow some money for like a couple of weeks. I imagine he can swing a line of credit now. Yeah, and that's never addressed. The fact that, like, okay, maybe magic users have to steal in order to have a decent way of life in this society where they're legally oppressed. That's not something that's addressed in the movie, which just makes things worse. Also, Ridley ends this movie being an agent of the establishment, which is probably bad. They make him a cop. Well, they are knighting him, which knights are fantasy cops. So
it's like Ridley just kind of sold out his beliefs about being anti-establishment as soon as he was welcomed into the establishment.
Yeah, troubling.
Not that great.
Yeah. Yeah, this is This is all as badly organized as this Godzilla DVD collection I got, which is. I'm just going to complain about this thing for a second. It doesn't have it's 4 discs. It's not the discs aren't separated, so they're just in one big pile. Warner Brothers likes to do this too, which fuck you, Warner Brothers. I hate that you do that. And then the movies are the second one you pick is the one that's the earliest on the movies on the disc. So you got to pick them in reverse order.
So it's not chronological order.
It's sort of chronological order. The movies are placed on the discs in chronological order, but like the first disc is Godzilla 2000 and Godzilla versus Mega Godzilla 2. Godzilla versus Mega Godzilla takes place first, so you got to watch that one first, but it's listed after Godzilla 2000. Also, like the information sheets and the cover and all the information is placed in like totally wrong order everywhere. Like the top of the screen is Godzilla against Mechagodzilla in the top corner, which it's not the first movie you watch, and the little information sheet you get in the DVD, it's also in that weird order, so it doesn't make sense. I don't think there was a lot of communication going on when they made this DVD. It's pretty bad. Anyway, it's sitting right next to me and it's bothering me. So they leave the ruby at Snail's grave, at which point Snail's soul is like sucked into the ruby, and they put their hand, and the party puts their hands on the ruby, seemingly so that they can rescue Ruby from the 9 hells. I guess, I don't know. It's not explicitly stated. We're told not to question your gifts. Which, what? No, that doesn't make sense. Fuck this. This movie's bad.
Ambitious on that sequel, though. I like how they tease a sequel and then completely don't provide a sequel.
Yeah, no, that I'm pretty sure the 2005
Or
movies...
they provide a sequel that is completely separate, except for it also has Bruce Payne in it. He goes into both.
Yeah, there's very few actors who are similar. That did even worse.
Also, he played the Kel in Highlander. I don't know if I stated that.
I think maybe you did. I don't know. But yeah, this is a bad movie. Closing thoughts?
Not really. I think I touched on a lot of everything that I was going to say. A lot of my issues was they had this whole like extended universe to touch on that they completely ignored for very little gain. They had a quick flirtatious quip line between the main characters that used some D&D jargon, but that's like the only remotely close thing that they tried to. For somebody who's a big fan of the Dungeons and Dragons series, it just didn't pay me enough fan service to really hold my interest as a movie. Yeah, I was gonna say it also doesn't work really good as a fantasy movie. It doesn't hold enough tropes within the fantasy movie or genre for me to really enjoy as a fantasy movie, and so it's just kind of it kind of loses itself in its own confusion.
And it doesn't like subvert those tropes enough either. So it's in like this weird spot where it's just like doing some of it and not doing some of it, and it doesn't end up working.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm reading up on the sequel. It says 100 years after the first film, Damodar is revived after his defeat by Ridley, having been cursed by his master to walk this entity as an undead. The Earth as an undead entity, driven insane by the curse. He seeks to get revenge against the now kingdom of Izmir, and the descendants who defeated him. That implies that this entire situation resulted in a decline of the Empire of Izmir. So good work, Empress. You did a very good job preserving your empire, although your empire can go fuck itself. So
what's the difference?
A kingdom is a single nation, an empire is a king over several nations. It's like a kingdom, but worse because it's bigger.
Yeah.
The Kingdom of England versus the British Empire.
Yeah.
Uh what do you give the movie, Cody?
So somewhere in those 100 years, somebody shit the bed is what you're telling us.
I think just immediately after she tried purging her council. I think just she purged the council, that caused a political decline, and now, yeah.
Once again, I'm probably just gonna give this probably around a 2 to 1 out of 10. It's just not. It's not doing anything for me.
What were you going to give it at the beginning of the movie when you said you liked it better?
Um, I was just fucking with you at that point in time.
Oh,
I was just gonna counter argue everything, but once again, that involves way too much brain power for me to really.
yeah. I go deep on the political science of these things, don't I? I've done I put way too much effort into like deconstructing these fantasy narratives, my knowledge of medieval style political science, don't I?
I mean that's definitely something that you should probably think about just doing for a side project.
Good. Yeah, maybe. That might be interesting.
Like if we ever had like a like a Patreon package, that's like definitely something that I would include in the like Patreon content is just like deep dives into different I think there's been a couple of times where I think we've talked more about the politics on the within the fictional realm outside of probably more than what we've talked about like the whole entire movie. So
Yeah, I could do that. I don't know. We could work on that sometime. Yeah, I'm giving the movie a 2. 2.
yeah.
I think the flaws are too big and I just didn't enjoy it a lot. I found like the air character interactions not very good. It's maybe racist. There's a reasonable case for it being racist actually, so I don't know. I don't think I can go higher than that. Like if you cut out some of the problematic elements, maybe a 4, but that's still not very generous.
No. And we've given pretty low scores to pretty much a lot of movies. I think maybe like the similar one it would probably be like the Black Cauldron, and I think we
Yeah,
touched on a lot of the elements that we were talking about there here too. So
true. True.
uh
Yeah, I'd say this is sort of on par with
once
that
again,
for me. I don't know. Cuz I gave that a 2 too, I'm pretty sure.
see uh, the difference though is I think you'd know better because you've probably watched it over YouTube at least. The difference is that at least the Black Cauldron was animated. At least it was easy to watch or fun to watch.
And you could have the fantasy fights, whereas you can't really in this. All the fights are with sword fights basically.
Mhm. Or very badly done magic spells.
Yeah, this is like a hair better than like a 90s like a 50s pulp movie. It's just like a hair better than that.
Uh, that actually reminds me. That's where I know this. Um, so both in Highlander, when an immortal cuts off the head of another immortal in the 1990s, 1992 to 1996 or 98 television series, they would be struck by lightning, and you'd see the lightning ripple out through the body of the immortal, and it's very similar to when the people were throwing their spells at each other.
Yeah.
It just looked like they were hit by a lightning bolt, and then ripples of electricity would go through their bodies. What I'm saying is the money that they were using for this 2000s CGI was actually done like, I don't know, 8 to 6 years earlier in a TV series with
Yeah, it's very TV quality. And like I feel like they could have like taken the same budget and made a better like more leanly made movie. I feel like that could have been done. Like maybe put all your money into fighting a beholder instead of this big dragon fight. I don't know. It just seems like a big waste of money the way they did it.
And a lot of it, they're giving the $45 million budget at the time.
That's not a bad budget. The sets look all right in places, but I thought the practical effects on the skeleton guy were kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the odd
So once
place.
again, like it just practical effects over CGI is almost better at that point in time. But I feel like a lot of people were like, "Oh, CGI is new and cool in 2000, so let's do it." Like I was going to compare it to 3 years later, 2003, or maybe it was even 2001, the first Spy Kids movie came out. And like the Spy Kids it was in 2001, and the Spy Kids CGI almost looks a lot better than some of this shit.
Yeah, because it's allowed to be
Not by
sillier.
a whole lot, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah, and
somewhat.
I did literally just watch that a little while ago, and yeah, because it's meant to be sillier, so you can handle the worst CGI. Whereas like this is CGI you're supposed to be taking seriously, and it's just not
But
working.
the counter argument to that I have is some of D&D can be whimsical
Oh
to
yeah,
some
true.
extent. It can be just as goofy, and for a lot of the times, I don't like Marlon Wayne's character gets stuck in a rug that's legitimately just slime. He's covered in slime at the end of this.
Yeah,
And how is that not goofy? Like it's just,
yeah. There's potential here. It just doesn't get used. I don't know.
and it's kind of cheapened the idea that they're probably they might do another movie at some point in time,
I
but
think they're
it's
working
always
on one
gonna
right now,
be
but yeah, I don't know what it'll be like.
compared to like this. I think if you're looking for an actual fantasy fix after watching this, I'm pretty sure I saw on YouTube that Dragonlance
Yeah, Dragonlance has a little movie.
was and it's completely animated. Like,
Yeah,
why couldn't they just drive up that road at that point in time?
yeah. There's better places to get your fix for this. All
Yeah,
right. Do we have anything else, or do we gonna wrap up?
I think we're gonna wrap up,
Okay. Yeah.
and I may or may not go watch this Dragonlance movie.
Yeah, that could be fun. But yeah, follow us on Facebook at Kyle and Cody's Called CinemaCast, and YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. Anything else? No, I'm just gonna go with that for now. See you guys in a couple weeks with whatever the next sub theme entry is. But there's gonna be a sub theme movie, proper one. So see you guys soon.